They threw me out like garbage. My own family. My own blood. And the worst part? They knew the truth the entire time. My sister framed me. She destroyed something precious. She blamed me. And my parents? They didn't even hesitate. They wanted me gone. Because I wasn't good enough. Because I wasn't her. But here's what they didn't know. That broken girl they kicked to the curb, she was about to become someone they could never ignore again. This is my story, and it's about to get real. My name is Elena, and for 23 years, I lived in a house that never felt like home. I grew up in the shadow of my older sister, Rachel, golden child, perfect daughter, the one who could do no wrong. She got straight A's. I got B's and C's. She was captain of the debate team. I was barely noticed in art club. She got into law school on a full scholarship. I went to community college part-time while working at a coffee shop. Every achievement she had was celebrated like a national holiday. Every small thing I did was met with a polite smile and a, "That's nice, sweetie." Mom threw Rachel a graduation party with 200 guests. When I finished my associate's degree, we went to Olive Garden, just the four of us. And Dad spent the whole dinner talking about Rachel's upcoming law school orientation. I told myself it was okay, that my parents loved us equally, that it was all in my head. But deep down, I knew. I was the spare, the backup, the one they kept around because you're supposed to love all your children, but they didn't really want me there. I remember being 12 years old, sitting at the top of the stairs late at night, listening to my parents talk in the kitchen. "Do you think Elena will ever be as driven as Rachel?" Mom asked. Dad sighed. "Some kids are just born with it. Others aren't. It's just disappointing. I thought having two daughters meant twice the success stories." "Well, at least we have one." I never told anyone what I heard that night. I just buried it deep inside and tried harder. But no matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. Rachel got a new car for her 16th birthday. I got a used bike for mine. Rachel's college tuition was paid in full. I had to take out loans. Rachel got family vacations to celebrate her achievements. I got a card in the mail when I made the dean's list. The inequality was subtle, but constant. And it wore me down year after year after year. I should have seen it coming. The day my world fell apart started like any other Tuesday. I came home from my shift at the coffee shop, exhausted, my feet aching. I'd worked a double, 8 hours straight, serving overpriced lattes to people who didn't say thank you. I was saving up to move out, to finally escape that suffocating house. I had almost $3,000 saved. Just a few more months and I could afford first month's rent, last month's rent, and a security deposit on my own place. Rachel was home from law school for the weekend. She was in the living room with Mom and Dad, laughing about something. Probably another story about how brilliant she was in class. I walked past them toward my room. Didn't say hello. Didn't have the energy. That's when I heard my mother scream. I froze, turned around, ran back downstairs. Mom was standing in the hallway outside Dad's office. Her hands were shaking, her face was pale. In her hands was a shattered frame, the family heirloom, my grandmother's antique picture frame with the original wedding photo from 1952. It was priceless, irreplaceable, a piece of family history that had been passed down for 3 generations. And it was in pieces on the floor. "What happened?" I asked, my heart racing. Mom looked at me, then at Rachel, then at Dad, who had come running from the kitchen. Rachel's eyes were wide, shocked. She had tears running down her face. "Elena," Dad said quietly, his voice dangerously calm. "What did you do?" I blinked. "What? I just got home. I didn't—" "Don't lie to me," he snapped. "I'm not lying. I literally just walked through the door." Rachel was sobbing now, full on crying. I saw her, Dad. I saw Alina throw it. Everything stopped. The air left my lungs. I stared at her. What? You were angry, Rachel said, her voice breaking between sobs. You were yelling about how nobody appreciates you, and you just picked it up and threw it against the wall. That's insane. I wasn't even here. But nobody was listening to me. Mom was crying. Dad was glaring at me with pure disgust. I knew you were jealous, Mom said, her voice trembling, but I never thought you'd do something like this. This was your grandmother's. This was our family's history. I didn't do anything. Stop lying, Dad roared. Your sister saw you. She's lying. What did she ask? I looked at Rachel, really looked at her. She was still crying, but when our eyes met, I saw something flicker across her face. Something cold. And that's when I realized she did this on purpose. She broke it. She blamed me. And my parents believed her without question. I want to see your phone. Check the timestamp on my location. Check my clock-in records from work. I have proof I wasn't here. Dad crossed his arms. We're not doing this. Why not? If you actually cared about the truth, Dad laughed bitterly. The truth is you've been bitter and resentful for years. The truth is you can't stand that your sister is successful. The truth is you finally snapped. Tears were streaming down my face. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Elena, Mom said coldly. And destroying priceless family heirlooms because you're jealous, that's unforgivable. I felt like I was drowning, like the walls were closing in. Rachel was still crying, playing the perfect victim. And I understood. This wasn't about the frame. This was about giving them permission to get rid of me. The next 3 days were hell. My parents barely looked at me. When they did, it was with disappointment and anger. Rachel played her part perfectly. She was devastated. She was trying to forgive me. She was praying for my healing. She even hugged me in front of Mom and said, "I know you didn't mean it. You were just frustrated." I wanted to scream. I tried to defend myself, over and over. I explained that I wasn't home, that I had witnesses at the coffee shop, that I could prove my innocence. Dad didn't care. Your coworkers would lie for you. I showed them my time card, proof that I clocked out 20 minutes after the frame was supposedly broken. Mom waved it away. You could have run home and back. The coffee shop is 30 minutes away. In a car, you could have taken an Uber. It was impossible. The timeline didn't work, the logic didn't work, but facts didn't matter. Logic didn't matter. They had already decided I was guilty. I stopped eating dinner with them, stayed in my room, cried myself to sleep every night. I texted my friend Jessica, told her everything. "That's insane," she wrote back. "Do you want to stay with me?" I don't know, maybe. I just need to figure this out. But there was nothing to figure out. On the 4th day, Dad called me into his office. I sat down. My hands were shaking. I hadn't slept in days. He didn't look at me, just stared at his desk. "Your mother and I have made a decision," he said slowly. My heart sank into my stomach. "You need to leave." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. What? "We can't have you in this house anymore. You're toxic, you're destructive, and frankly, Elena, we're tired of your behavior." My behavior? I didn't do anything. "Enough," he shouted, slamming his hand on the desk. "We're done with your lies. We're done with your jealousy. We're done with you making this family miserable." Tears were streaming down my face. "Dad, please, you have to believe me. I'm your daughter." He finally looked at me. His eyes were cold, empty. "You have 1 week to pack your things and find somewhere else to go." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "You're kicking me out?" We are giving you a chance to start over, somewhere else, away from us. Maybe it'll be good for you." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw the truth written all over his face. He wanted this. He wanted me gone. This wasn't about the frame. This wasn't about justice. This was about Rachel, about how much easier their lives would be without me there to remind them that their perfect daughter had a failure for a sister. Rachel had given them the excuse they needed, and they took it with both hands. I stood up. My legs felt weak. My whole body felt weak. "Fine," I whispered. Dad nodded, satisfied. "Good. I think this is best for everyone." "Yeah," I said quietly. I walked out of his office, past the living room where Mom and Rachel were sitting together on the couch watching a cooking show. Rachel glanced at me, just for a second, and I saw it. The tiniest smile at the corner of her mouth. She won. That night, I sat on my bedroom floor and cried until I had nothing left. Then I got up, wiped my face, and started packing. I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases and 3 boxes. Clothes, books, art supplies, my laptop, the few things that actually mattered to me. I left behind anything they'd given me. The cheap jewelry, the hand-me-down furniture, the guilt gifts from birthdays and Christmases past. I didn't want anything from them. I had $2,847 in my savings account, barely enough for a deposit and first month's rent on the cheapest apartment I could find. No car, no credit, no references. I called Jessica. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, are you okay?" "Can I stay with you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Just for a little while, until I find a place." "Of course. How soon do you need to move?" "Now." Jessica came and picked me up that night. She helped me load my stuff into her car. On the day I officially left, nobody said goodbye. Mom was at book club. Dad was at work. Rachel was in her room with the door closed. I walked through the house one last time, looked at the pictures on the walls. Rachel's graduation photos, Rachel's awards, Rachel's life documented in frames. There was one picture of me, tucked in the corner of a bookshelf, my high school graduation. I was smiling, but my eyes looked sad. I left my key on the kitchen counter, and I walked out the front door with my suitcases. Jessica drove me to her apartment in silence. She didn't ask questions, didn't push. She just let me cry. "You can stay as long as you need," she said when we pulled up to her building. "Thank you. I mean it. You're not alone." But as I carried my boxes up 3 flights of stairs to her tiny 1-bedroom apartment, I felt more alone than I ever had in my life. The first month was the hardest. I slept on Jessica's couch. It was lumpy and too short for my height. I woke up every morning with a sore back and a pit in my stomach. I picked up extra shifts at the coffee shop, started working doubles, then triples when I could get them. My body ached constantly. I was exhausted, running on caffeine and spite. I lived on ramen and peanut butter sandwiches, saved every penny. Jessica refused to let me pay rent. "Just help with groceries when you can," she said. I cried in the shower every night so she wouldn't hear me. But something inside me had shifted. I wasn't that scared little girl anymore. I wasn't the family disappointment. I was free. Nobody was comparing me to Rachel. Nobody was telling me I wasn't good enough. Nobody was making me feel small. For the first time in my life, I could just exist. And slowly, day by day, I started to find myself. I started drawing again, something I hadn't done in years. My art supplies were still packed in one of my boxes: pencils, charcoals, sketchbooks. I'd sketch during my breaks at work: faces, buildings, coffee cups, anything that caught my eye. One day, a customer noticed my sketchbook sitting on the counter. "Did you draw that?" she asked, pointing to a portrait I'd done of an elderly man at the bus stop. Yeah, I said, just practicing. These are really good, like really good. Do you sell your work? I laughed. No, it's just a hobby. You should. I'm serious. I'd buy one. I thanked her and brushed it off. But later that night, lying on Jessica's couch, I couldn't stop thinking about what she said. The next day, I posted one of my drawings on Instagram, a profile I'd made years ago but never used. Just a photo of my sketchbook with the caption, Late Night Therapy. 10 people liked it, then 20, then 50. Most of them were friends from high school, people I hadn't talked to in years. But a few were strangers who found it through hashtags. Someone messaged me, "Do you do commissions?" I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Yes, DM me for pricing." I had no idea what to charge, so I Googled it, found some forums, did some research. My first commission was a portrait of someone's dog, a golden retriever named Bailey. I charged $40. It took me 6 hours to complete. When I sent the final product, the client cried, said it was perfect, said she'd treasure it forever. She left me a 5-star review and tagged me in her post. 3 more people messaged me asking for commissions. I couldn't believe it. I raised my prices to $60, then $80, then $100. People kept hiring me. I started posting more regularly, progress shots, finished pieces, behind the scenes of my process. My follower count grew, slowly at first, then faster. 1,000 followers, then 2,000, then 5,000. I was making an extra $500 to $700 a month from commissions alone. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Money I earned with my own talent, my own hands. After 2 months on Jessica's couch, I found a studio apartment. It was tiny, the kind of place where the kitchen, bedroom, and living room are all the same room. It was in a rough part of town. The building was old, the heat barely worked. There were roaches. But it was mine. $650 a month. I could afford it with my coffee shop job and my art income combined. I moved in with almost nothing. A mattress on the floor, a folding table for my art, 1 pot, 1 pan, 2 plates. But I didn't care. I had my own space, my own door that locked, my own life. Jessica helped me move in, brought me a houseplant and a card that said, "To new beginnings." I cried when I read it. The first night in my apartment, I sat on my mattress and looked around at my empty studio. And I smiled. I was going to make this work. 6 months after being kicked out, I quit the coffee shop. I was making enough from my art commissions to pay rent, buy groceries, and even save a little. It was terrifying. No steady paycheck, no benefits, no safety net. But I'd never been happier. I started taking my art more seriously, invested in better supplies, practiced every single day. I enrolled in online courses for graphic design, taught myself Photoshop, Illustrator, Procreate, spent hours watching YouTube tutorials, reading blogs, studying other artists. My Instagram grew to 10,000 followers, then 15,000. Brands started reaching out, small businesses wanting logos, restaurants needing menu designs, startups needing illustrations for their websites. I raised my prices again, $200 for a portrait, $500 for a logo package, $1,000 for full brand identity work. And people paid it. I couldn't believe it. A year ago, I was the family failure, the disappointment who couldn't do anything right. Now I was running my own business, supporting myself, building something real. I moved out of the roach-infested studio and into a 1-bedroom apartment with actual heat and windows that closed properly. I bought myself a real desk, a good laptop, professional drawing tablets, a comfortable chair. I framed some of my favorite pieces and hung them on my walls. My apartment started to feel like home. I started going to therapy, something I should have done years ago. My therapist, Dr. Morgan, helped me work through everything. The years of feeling inadequate, the constant comparisons, the emotional neglect. "What happened to you wasn't your fault," she said during one session. I know, I replied, but I didn't really believe it yet. Do you? She asked gently. Because you keep talking about what you could have done differently, how you could have been better, how you could have made them love you more. I was quiet. Elena, there was nothing you could have done. Some parents play favorites, some families are toxic, and sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away. Those words hit me hard. I cried for the entire session. But something shifted that day. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the problem. 18 months after leaving, I got a message from a marketing agency. They'd found me on Instagram, loved my work, wanted to interview me for a full-time graphic designer position. The salary was $65,000 a year, plus benefits, plus bonuses. More money than I'd ever made in my life. I interviewed, showed them my portfolio, talked about my process. They offered me the job on the spot. I accepted. 2 months later, I moved into a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in a nice part of the city. Hardwood floors, big windows, a kitchen with a dishwasher, a bathroom with a bathtub. I bought real furniture, a couch, a dining table, a bed frame. I hung artwork on the walls, put plants in every room, made it feel like a real home. I had savings, a 401k, health insurance, dental, vision. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. And the craziest part, I did it all on my own. No family money, no support, no safety net, no handouts. Just me and my refusal to give up. I started dating, met someone at a friend's birthday party. His name was Marcus. He was kind, funny, supportive. He didn't know about my family drama, and when I finally told him, he held my hand and said, "Their loss." For the first time in my life, I felt seen, valued, loved for who I actually was. Not compared to anyone, not measured against impossible standards. Just me, Elena, the artist, the survivor, the woman who built herself from nothing. Hadn't spoken to my family in 2 years. No calls, no texts, no emails, no social media contact. I'd blocked all of them, changed my number, made my Instagram private to anyone I didn't know personally. It was easier that way. Out of sight, out of mind. But Jessica still lived in our hometown, and sometimes, when we'd meet for lunch or talk on the phone, she'd update me. I never asked, but she'd tell me anyway. "Your sister's engaged," she mentioned casually one day over lunch. I nodded, taking a bite of my salad. Good for her. To that lawyer guy she was dating, the one from her firm, David something. Makes sense. Perfect couple. Jessica studied my face. "You okay?" I smiled. Honestly, yeah, I am. And I meant it. I didn't care about Rachel's engagement, didn't care about her perfect life, didn't care about any of it. I had my own life now, a life I was proud of. But about 6 months later, Jessica called me out of the blue on a Wednesday night. "You need to hear this," she said, her voice urgent. I sighed, pausing the show I was watching. "What?" "Rachel's engagement is off." I sat up straighter. "What happened?" "Apparently, her fiancé found out she's been lying about a lot of things." "What kind of things?" "Her job performance, her finances. She was apparently borrowing money from him and not paying it back. And get this, she lied about her references for law school applications, like fabricated recommendation letters." My stomach throbbed. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious." It all came out when David was helping her apply for a job at a different firm. He noticed inconsistencies, started asking questions. She eventually confessed to everything. I didn't know what to say. "There's more," Jessica continued. "The law firm she was working at, they launched an internal investigation, found out she'd been lying about billing hours, falsifying client reports. She got fired." "Oh my God." "Yeah, and David left her, called off the wedding. She moved back in with your parents." I sat there in stunned silence. "Elena, you still there?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm here. I just thought you should know." After we hung up, I sat on my couch, staring at nothing. The golden child had fallen. Everything she'd built her life on, Her reputation, her career, her relationship had crumbled. I should have felt satisfaction, vindication, some sense of cosmic justice, but I just felt empty and maybe a little sad. Not for her, but for the system that created her, the pressure that made her think lying and cheating was the only way to stay on top. A few weeks later, Jessica sent me a screenshot. It was a post from my mother's Facebook, a prayer request. Please pray for our family during this difficult season. We're going through some challenging times and could use your support. The comments were full of concerned friends asking what happened. Mom didn't respond to any of them. I stared at the screenshot for a long time. Then I deleted it. Their problems weren't mine anymore. But the universe wasn't done yet. 2 months later, Jessica called me again. Okay, this is wild, she said. What now? Your parents' business is in trouble. Your dad's accounting firm? Apparently they lost their 3 biggest clients. Something about mismanagement and missed deadlines. How do you know all this? Small town. People talk. Also, my mom plays bridge with your Aunt Linda. Of course. And your mom? Jessica continued. She had to go back to work. She's working at the public library part-time. My mother, who'd spent the last 20 years as a stay-at-home mom and social butterfly, was working at the library. The same woman who used to brag about never having to work. Wow, I said. I know. Everything's just falling apart for them. After that call, I realized something. I didn't want revenge. I never had. I just wanted them to understand, to see what they'd thrown away. But I was starting to realize they never would. 3 months later, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the better of me. Alina, it's Rachel. Please don't delete this. I need to talk to you. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm begging you. Please. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "How did you get this number?" Jessica. I called her and begged. Please don't be mad at her. I sighed. What do you want? To apologize, to explain, to make things right. You can't make things right. I know, but I have to try. Can we meet? Coffee? Anywhere you want. Please. I should have said no, should have blocked the number and moved on with my life. But there was something in her message, something desperate. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Fine. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., the cafe on 5th Street downtown. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll be there. I put my phone down and immediately regretted it. What the hell was I doing? The next day, I arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early. I ordered a coffee, black, sat in the back corner booth where I could see the door, watched people come and go. At exactly 2 p.m., Rachel walked in. I barely recognized her. She looked exhausted. Her hair was unwashed, pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup. Dark circles under her eyes that even concealer couldn't hide. She was wearing sweatpants and an old hoodie, the same hoodie she'd worn in high school. This wasn't the polished, perfect Rachel I remembered. This was someone who'd been broken down. She saw me and walked over slowly, like she was approaching a wild animal. "Hi," she said softly. "Sit." She sat down across from me, folded her hands on the table. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I just looked at her, waiting. "You look good," Rachel finally said. "Really good. Happy. Thanks. I mean it. You look like you've found yourself." I didn't respond. Rachel took a shaky breath. "I don't even know where to start." "How about the truth?" I said. "For once in your life." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "You're right," she whispered. "You deserve that." She looked down at her hands. Her fingers were trembling. "I broke the frame," she said quietly, "on purpose. And I blamed you because I knew Mom and Dad would believe me." Hearing her admit it out loud should have felt vindicating, should have made me feel justified, proven right. But it just felt sad. "Why?" I asked. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "Because I was jealous." I stared at her. "You were jealous? Of me?" Yes. That doesn't make any sense, Rachel. You were the golden child. You had everything: the grades, the achievements, the attention, the love, everything. I had expectations, Rachel said, her voice breaking. I had pressure. I had to be perfect every single second of every single day. And you got to just be yourself. I laughed, actually laughed. I know how it sounds. Do you? I snapped. Do you have any idea what it was like being compared to you my entire life? Being told I wasn't good enough, that I'd never measure up? Watching you get everything while I got scraps? I know, Rachel whispered. I know, and I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. I know. She wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her hoodie. You seemed so free, she continued. You could draw, you could dream, you could fail, and it was okay because they expected it from you. But me, I couldn't make a single mistake. One bad grade, and I was letting everyone down. One wrong move, and I was ruining my future. So you made me the villain to take the pressure off yourself? Yes, she admitted, and I'm not proud of it. I'm ashamed. I'm disgusted with myself. You should be. She nodded. I should. Silence fell between us again. Everything's fallen apart, Rachel said quietly. I lost my job, my fiancé, my reputation. Every firm in the state knows what I did. Nobody will hire me. I'm living back at home with mom and dad, and they look at me like I'm— She paused. Like they used to look at you. I felt a twist in my chest. And now, I said softly, yes, now I understand what it feels like to be the disappointment. She reached across the table. I pulled my hand back instinctively. I don't expect you to forgive me, Rachel said. I don't even deserve to ask. But I needed you to know that I'm sorry. For everything. For the frame, for getting you kicked out, for years of making you feel less than, for being the reason they never saw how amazing you are. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw someone who'd built her entire identity on being perfect, on being the best, on being loved conditionally. And when that crumbled, she had nothing left, no sense of self, no real accomplishments, just a house of cards built on lies. I forgive you, I said quietly. Rachel's eyes widened. What? I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Because holding on to anger is exhausting. Because I've built a life I love, and I'm not going to let you take up space in it anymore. Tears streamed down her face. Elena, but that doesn't mean I want you in my life, I continued firmly. I've moved on. I've healed. I've built something real, something that's mine. And I can't go back to being that person who needed your approval or mom and dad's. Rachel nodded, wiping her face with both hands now. I understand. I hope you figure things out, I said, and I meant it. I really do. I hope you find yourself, I hope you build a life based on who you actually are, not who everyone expected you to be. But you need to do that without me. Okay, Rachel whispered. That's fair. I grabbed my purse and stood up. Elena? Rachel called. I turned. You were always stronger than me, she said, her voice thick with emotion. You were always more real, more talented, more you. I just wish I'd seen it sooner. I wish I'd told them to see it. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I walked out into the afternoon sun and took a deep breath. The air felt lighter, cleaner. It was over. Finally over. 6 months later, I got a promotion at work. Creative director. My own team of 4 designers. A salary that made my younger self's head spin. I moved into a gorgeous 2-bedroom apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city skyline. I adopted a cat, a little orange tabby I named Mango. He slept on my pillow and knocked things off my desk while I worked. I continued therapy, worked through layers of trauma I didn't even know existed. Started dating Marcus more seriously. Met his family. They welcomed me with open arms. His mom hugged me and said, "We're so glad he found you." I almost cried. My Instagram reached 50,000 followers. Brands were reaching out constantly. Nike, Adobe, small startups, major publications. I started getting offers to speak at design conferences. Me, the girl who could barely pass high school English. I published a book of my illustrations, Rebuilding, an artist's journey from broken to whole. It sold out in 3 weeks, went into a second printing, then a third. Readers sent me messages saying my story helped them leave toxic families, helped them believe in themselves, helped them start over. I cried reading every single one. I traveled. Paris, where I sketched the Eiffel Tower from a cafe. Tokyo, where I got lost in the art supply stores. Barcelona, where I painted on the beach. I lived. For the first time in my life, I truly lived. No fear, no shame, no voice in my head telling me I wasn't good enough. Just me and the endless possibilities in front of me. One evening, I was sitting on my balcony with a glass of wine, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Mango was curled up on my lap, purring. My phone buzzed, a text from Jessica. "Saw your mom at the grocery store today. She asked about you, asked if you were doing okay. I told her you were thriving. She looked like she was going to cry." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I set my phone face down on the table, took a sip of wine, and watched the sun disappear behind the buildings. I didn't feel anger, didn't feel sadness, didn't feel the need to reach out or make amends. I just felt free. The truth is, I used to think happiness meant proving them wrong, showing them I was worth something, making them regret what they did. But real happiness, real peace, it's realizing you don't need their validation. It's building a life so full and so beautiful that their absence doesn't leave a hole. It's waking up every morning and choosing yourself. My family threw me away because I wasn't good enough for them. But the joke's on them, because losing them was the best thing that ever happened to me. I learned that I'm capable of things I never imagined, that I'm resilient in ways I didn't know were possible, that I'm enough exactly as I am. I learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the friends who show up with moving boxes, the coworkers who celebrate your wins, the partner who holds you when the past catches up, the therapist who helps you untangle years of damage. I learned that success isn't measured by someone else's standards. It's measured by whether you're proud of who you see in the mirror. And every single day, I am. Do I wish things had been different? Sometimes. Late at night, when I'm alone with my thoughts, I wonder what it would have been like to have parents who truly saw me, who celebrated me, who believed in me. I wonder what it would have been like to have a sister who was my friend instead of my competition. But then I look around at the life I've built and I realize something important. If they had loved me the way I deserved, I might never have left. I might still be in that house, shrinking myself, apologizing for existing, waiting for crumbs of approval. I might never have discovered my art, my strength, my voice. So, in a twisted way, their rejection was a gift. It forced me to become the person I was always meant to be. Rachel reached out a few more times over the years, emails mostly, long ones, full of apologies and explanations and requests to rebuild our relationship. I read the first few, then I stopped. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. Some chapters are meant to stay closed. And some people, no matter how sorry they are, don't get a second chance. Because forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I can forgive her for what she did and still choose not to have her in my life. Both things can be true. My parents never reached out directly, but I heard through Jessica that Mom asked about me occasionally, that Dad mentioned me once at a family gathering, saying he wondered how I was doing. Too little, too late. I think they're too proud to admit they were wrong, too ashamed to face what they did. Or maybe they genuinely don't think they did anything wrong. Maybe, in their minds, I was the problem, and removing me was the solution. I'll never know. And honestly, I don't need to. Their opinion of me stopped mattering the day my opinion of myself was enough. A year after the cafe meeting with Rachel, I got an invitation in the mail. It was my cousin Emma's wedding, a big, fancy affair at a country club in my hometown. The envelope was addressed to me at my new apartment. Someone had tracked down my address. Inside was a handwritten note from Emma. Elena, I know things are complicated with your family, but you're my family too. I'd love for you to be there. No pressure, just know you're invited and wanted. Love, Emma. I held the invitation for a long time. Part of me wanted to throw it away, to avoid the potential drama, to protect my peace. But another part of me, the part that had grown strong and confident, wanted to go. Not to prove anything, not to show off, not to make anyone feel bad, but because Emma had always been kind to me, and because I was done hiding. I RSVD'd yes, +1, marked that I'd be bringing Marcus. When the wedding day came, I dressed carefully. A beautiful emerald green dress that hugged my curves, professional hair and makeup, heels that made me feel powerful. Marcus wore a sharp navy suit and told me I looked stunning. We drove to my hometown together, his hand in mine the entire way. Are you okay? He asked as we pulled into the country club parking lot. Yeah, I said, and I meant it. I'm good. We walked into the reception hall hand in hand. The room was beautiful, string lights everywhere, flowers on every table, a live band setting up in the corner. And there, near the bar, I saw them. Mom, Dad, Rachel. They were standing together, drinks in hand, talking to some relatives I'd vaguely recognized. Mom saw me first. Her mouth fell open. She touched Dad's arm and pointed. Dad turned. His face went pale. Rachel just stared. I didn't walk over to them, didn't wave, didn't acknowledge them at all. I just walked to our assigned table, introduced Marcus to Emma, congratulated her on her wedding, and sat down. Throughout the evening, I could feel their eyes on me. During dinner, I caught Mom staring from across the room. During the toasts, Dad kept glancing in my direction. During the dancing, Rachel stood alone near the wall, watching Marcus spin me around the dance floor. I didn't gloat, didn't show off, didn't make a scene. I just existed. Happy, confident, whole. Halfway through the reception, Mom approached our table. I saw her coming and braced myself. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table. Elena, Mom said quietly, can we talk? I'm in the middle of a conversation, I said, gesturing to Emma's friends at our table. Please, just 5 minutes. I looked at Marcus. He nodded. I'll be right here. I stood up and followed Mom to a quiet corner of the venue. She looked older than I remembered, more tired. Her hair had more gray, her face had more lines. You look beautiful, she said. Thank you. I didn't know you were coming. Emma invited me. Mom nodded, wrung her hands together. How have you been? Good, I said. I heard you're doing well, that you have a good job, that you're successful. I am. She waited for me to elaborate. I didn't. Elena, she paused, took a breath. I wanted to say that I'm sorry for how things ended, for not believing you, for asking you to leave. I looked at her, waited. Your father and I, we made a mistake. We see that now. Okay, I said. I was hoping maybe we could talk, maybe try to rebuild. No, I said, firmly but not unkindly. Mom blinked. No. I appreciate the apology, I do, but I'm not interested in rebuilding anything. But you're my daughter, I corrected. When I needed you, when I was begging you to believe me, when I had nowhere to go, I was your daughter then, and you chose Rachel over me. It was complicated. It wasn't complicated, I said. You had 2 daughters. One was more convenient to love. You made your choice, and I've made mine. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Please don't say that. I'm not angry anymore, I said gently. I'm not holding a grudge. I've forgiven you. But forgiveness doesn't mean letting you back into my life. I've built something beautiful without you. And I'm not willing to risk that for people who only want me now that I've proven myself. That's not fair. Maybe not, I said, but it's my choice, just like kicking me out was yours. I turned to walk away. Elena, wait. I stopped, looked back. Mom was crying now. I'm proud of you. I need you to know that. I'm so proud of who you've become. Something inside me softened, just a little. Thank you, I said quietly. But I didn't become this person because of you. I became this person in spite of you. And that's something I had to learn to be proud of myself. I walked back to Marcus, who immediately wrapped his arm around me. You okay? He whispered. Yeah, I said. I really am. We stayed for another hour, danced, laughed, celebrated Emma's happiness. And when we left, I didn't look back. Not even once. 3 years later, I was featured in a major design magazine. From coffee shop to creative director, Elena Martinez's inspiring journey. The article detailed my story. Not all of it. I kept some things private, but enough to show that success doesn't always come from privilege. Sometimes it comes from survival. The magazine sent me a copy. I put it on my coffee table and stared at it for a long time. That girl working doubles at the coffee shop, sleeping on a friend's couch, crying herself to sleep every night, she would have never believed this was possible. But here I was. Jessica sent me a screenshot a week after the article came out. My mother had shared it on Facebook with the caption, "So proud of my talented daughter." I stared at it, felt the familiar anger start to rise. Then I breathed it out. Let it go. She could post whatever she wanted, could tell whatever story made her feel better. It didn't change my truth. It didn't change what I knew, and it definitely didn't change the fact that I was happy without her approval. I blocked her on Facebook. Should have done it years ago. And that was that. Marcus and I got married in a small ceremony surrounded by people who actually loved us. Jessica was my maid of honor. My chosen family filled the seats. No one from my blood family was invited, and I didn't feel guilty about it. We honeymooned in Greece, spent 2 weeks eating amazing food, exploring ancient ruins, and sleeping in late. It was perfect. When we got back, we bought a house, a real house, with a yard and extra bedrooms and a studio space for my art. I painted the studio walls my favorite shade of blue, filled it with plants and natural light and everything I needed to create. Some mornings, I'd wake up early, make coffee, and just sit in that studio looking around. And I'd think about the girl who was kicked out with 2 suitcases and no plan, about how scared she was, how broken she felt, how sure she was that she'd never amount to anything. And I'd wish I could go back and tell her, you're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to build something so beautiful that one day you won't even recognize the girl you used to be. But that's the thing about transformation. You can't skip the hard parts. You can't bypass the pain. You can't fast forward through the struggle. You have to live it, feel it, survive it. And then, one day, you look up and realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving. So here's what I want you to take from my story. If your family doesn't see your worth, that's their loss, not yours. Their inability to recognize your value says nothing about you and everything about them. If they treat you like you're disposable, prove them wrong by thriving without them. But not for them, for you. Don't wait for their validation. Don't wait for their apology. Don't put your life on hold hoping they'll change. Build your own life, chase your own dreams, create your own definition of success. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you, not tolerate you. People who show up, who believe in you, who love you for who you are, not who they want you to be. And most importantly, remember this. You are not the problem. You never were. Sometimes, the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. Sometimes, families are toxic. Sometimes, parents play favorites. Sometimes, siblings betray you. And sometimes, the best thing you can do is walk away. It's not giving up. It's not being bitter. It's not holding a grudge. It's choosing yourself. It's protecting your peace. It's recognizing that you deserve better and refusing to settle for less. And I promise you, when you stop seeking their approval and start believing in yourself, everything changes. You stop being the victim of their story. You become the hero of your own. You stop shrinking yourself to fit their expectations. You expand into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. And that is the sweetest revenge of all. Not because it hurts them, but because it heals you. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's living so well, so fully, so authentically that their opinion becomes irrelevant. It's building a life so rich that their absence creates space instead of emptiness. It's waking up every single day and choosing joy over bitterness, growth over resentment, peace over revenge. My name is Elena Martinez. I'm a creative director, an artist, a wife, a friend, a survivor. I'm someone who was thrown away and rebuilt herself from scratch. I'm someone who learned that family is chosen, not given. I'm someone who discovered that the opinions that matter most are our own. And I am enough. I always was. I just needed to lose everything to realize it. So, to anyone out there feeling worthless, feeling invisible, feeling like the disappointment, you're not. Your family's inability to see you doesn't make you invisible. Their low expectations don't define your potential. Their rejection doesn't determine your value. You are worthy, you are capable, you are enough. Right now, as you are, without changing a single thing. And one day, when you're living your best life, surrounded by people who truly love you, doing work that fulfills you, being exactly who you were meant to be, you'll look back on this moment, and you'll realize that being kicked out wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning. The beginning of the life you were always supposed to have. The beginning of becoming who you were always meant to be. And you'll be grateful. Not for the pain, but for the strength it gave you. Not for the rejection, but for the freedom it brought you. Not for the family you lost, but for the person you found. Yourself. Strong, resilient, unstoppable. And that, my friends, is the real glow up. Not revenge, not bitterness, not proving them wrong. But finally, proving yourself right.